It's 2026 and I think this might be the year that Motorola has finally gotten it together. Between the surprisingly excellent Fold, the class-leading flips, and the unexpectedly awesome and addictive Edge, I think it's about time we shifted our Google and Samsung tinted glasses towards this rejuvenated brand. If there is one phone today that really defines Motorola as a brand, no, it's not the Razr Fold or even the G. It would be, I would argue, the Razr Flip. Honestly, no one does it better, at least, on this side of the pond. But real quick, some of my favorite things about this line of foldables, well, still being able to use pretty much all apps on the cover screen on the base model all the way up to the Ultra is totally clutch, guys. And unlike limited widgets and cards that other brands rely on, you can Genshin, tweet, VidChat, or Gmail without ever using the inner screen. Sure, sometimes I wish the cameras didn't physically get in the way of the experience, but I guess you could always shrink the UI. It's, not ideal, yet the option is there if you so choose. Now, with that being said, I reckon that the middle child Flip Plus, which is what you see here in the spring green colorway, represents the best value, providing the best combination of day-to-day performance and stability without being that far off from the Ultra in terms of specs. If you're a phone enthusiast, I would say the base model might prove to be a little bit too unimpressive, especially with the camera package and internal silicone. The Dimensity 7450X on this is mostly fine for the most part, but can experience stutter when subjected to rapid multitasking or screen splitting. It's not often that it happens, but when it does, yeah, you can't unsee it. By comparison, the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 on the Plus, even if it's still the same from the 2025 model, is sprightly, reliable, and AI generatively friendly. Another bright side is endurance. The chipset combined with the 4500 mAh battery makes this an easy day and a half, 2-day companion even. So yes, I would weekly recommend the $800 base Razr only if you're dabbling into the foldable world for the first time and don't want to sell your arm and a kidney for it. Of course, if you can swing it, the $1,500 Ultra is a beast and is the pick of the three if photography and videography is a priority, among other things, whereby the low-fix sensor in the main camera being a primary reason here. It really makes a noticeable difference, as you've probably seen in the photo samples throughout this video. All of which brings us back to the Flip Plus that straddles the two and I believe is just right for 75% of potential buyers. But regardless of which variant you buy though, you'll have access to some of the coolest chassis colors and textures, plus UI gestures in the business. But something to bear in mind, on the other hand, they all have a significantly shorter software support period than if you were to buy, say, a Samsung. And also, pro tip, if you do get the Orient Blue Ultra with the Alcantara back cover and all that, know that it wears down faster than other options and can get stained when drenched with a lot of moisture like sweat or water. Perhaps the biggest surprise for me happened outside of the fanfare surrounding the launches of the Fold and the 3 Flips, which are no doubt and understandably the most important Halo products in Motorola's 2026 lineup. So rather like that unpopular classmate in junior year, that suddenly became cool as a senior, the revised 2026 Edge has won me over with its thin profile that reminds me of an iPhone Air and S25 Edge, svelte 160 grams, and refreshingly compact 6.3-inch display that both make it perfect for the tightest pants pockets, plus a fantastic build quality that, while not flagship, looks awfully darn close to one. So spending 3 weeks with this thing as my daily definitely brought back memories of the OG Google Pixel. Thin, light, and more palmable than most phones on sale nowadays, the $600 Edge is the kind of lower mid-range phone that does exactly as it says on the box. like easy 2-day battery life with 60-watt fast charging and 15-watt wireless charging, more than adequate performance out of the, again, sounds familiar here, the Dimensity 7450 chipset, even if some will consider it a downgrade from the previous gen. A lovely, and you can't ignore this, the colorful screen that even PWM sensitive users would appreciate. And speaking of the screen, it's completely flat, so no exposed, well, edges if you ever want to slap a glass protector on it. The camera array won't win awards or challenge the Pixel 10a, but the Edge has a better ultra wide while doing pretty darn well in low light shots too. Testing, 1, 2, 3, test, 1, 2, 3. Doing a slow pan across. The preview actually looks really nice. No stutters whatsoever. Really nice. How's the sound on this? I'm 100% sure this is better than the Razr Fold. I'm not sure what's going on with that phone, but every other phone that I've tested on, like the Razr Flips and this Edge, and even the Motorola G Stylus 2026, all sound fantastic except the Fold. I'm not sure what's going on there. This is the Razr Flip Plus. There's a slight jitter when I'm doing quick panning. Here comes some cars coming up and down the street. How's the audio? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Test. 1, 2, 3. Fast moving. There we go. Not to sound like a broken record or anything, but I wish Motorola thought more highly of its products to give them longer software support. The Fold was a sliver of hope that I had crossed my fingers would rub off the rest of the lineup, but it seems like that was wishful thinking as well, with up to 3 years of updates on the Edge. And also, 2021 called, guys, and it wants its 128 gigs of storage back. Yes, the Edge isn't available in 256 gigabyte or more, guys, or at least with expandable storage. So shame on you, Motorola. Truth be told though, I'm personally rooting for Motorola as the underdog, as the comeback kid. Like, judging this year's Razr Flip and Edge as they are, it's hard to ignore how passionate and engineers are. So the result is phones that shout modernity, balance, and a healthy dose of fun. Now, comparing them to the previous generation, however, does bring up debates about price increases across the board with minor, even if meaningful improvements. But to that, I also said that almost every brand nowadays is kind of guilty of this practice during each evolutionary product cycle. And honestly, I think there are more important kinks to be worked out on the brand level than just pricing alone. And I'm speaking of phone software support here. As the third or fourth biggest phone maker, depending on who you ask, Motorola really needs to get in the game and start offering 5 or more years of support. Like, no more excuses. But if that doesn't bother you, it really honestly doesn't bother me that much, then don't let that stop you from checking out some of the most interesting phones available right now. Just don't drop the ball again, Motorola.